Now let's take a look at the top story of the hour. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 3-hour-long podcast with US-based podcaster and AI researcher Lex Fridman is set to be released today at 5:30 p.m. The Prime Minister described the upcoming podcast as a fascinating conversation in which he discussed a wide range of topics including his childhood memories, his years in the Himalayas and his journey in the public life. Lex, a Russian-origin American computer scientist and AI researcher, is associated with Massachusetts Institute of Technology in Cambridge, and also where he specifically focuses on studies on human-robot interaction. He launched the Lex Fridman podcast, originally titled the AI podcast, which quickly gained a massive following. Some of the most notable guests on the podcast includes former US President Donald Trump, Tesla CEO Elon Musk, Ukrainian President Zelenskyy. Now let's take a look on about who exactly is Lex. Viewers, when we're talking about this podcast, it's a 3-hour podcast, and let's try to gain an understanding on who exactly this guy is, Lex Fridman. And he has done a 3-hour podcast which is set to be dropping today at 5:30 p.m. And let's take a look at exactly who is this guy. He's a Russian-born American AI researcher at Massachusetts Institute of Technology. So he has a very bright academic background. He has studied at MIT, and when we're talking about his undergraduate studies, he pursued undergraduate studies at Drexel University in Philadelphia in BSc Computer Science. So he has done BSc Computer Science at Drexel, and when we're talking about further about him, later completed his master's and PhD in electrical and computer engineering. So obviously his focus was on computer engineering, and when we're talking about more about him, his research focused on delving opining system capable of understanding and predicting human action. So obviously the focus is on artificial intelligence. That's what his podcast is also about. He's an AI researcher. He was hired by Google to further his research on AI and powered identity authentication. So obviously a lot of his research focuses on AI, and his research, he has also done his research at Google. And when we're talking about research scientist at Massachusetts Institute, obviously he was a researcher since 2015 at MIT, and when we're talking about his educational background, he has studied at MIT, he has studied at Drexel University in Philadelphia. He is an American computer scientist hosting Lex Fridman podcast since 2018. So earlier his podcast was called AI Podcast, Artificial Intelligence, but now it's called Lex Fridman Podcast, and gained attention when Elon Musk praised his MIT study in 2019. So obviously he has a lot of notable guests. We have talked about this. He has hosted Donald Trump, Zelenskyy, Elon Musk, and has significant presence on social media, and with over 4.5 million subscribers on YouTube, 1.4 million followers on Instagram. So obviously he has a lot of followers. So when we're talking about him, he is a lot of major academic background. He has studied at MIT, and that's something Elon Musk has also praised him for.